The media bombards us daily with stories of shootings, creating a constant state of fear and anxiety. They paint a picture of America drowning in a sea of gun violence, suggesting that no place is safe. But this narrative is a lie, carefully crafted to push an agenda that benefits certain groups and interests. It's time to face the truth and look beyond the headlines. America doesn't have a gun problem. It has a deeper issue with violence. We have a problem with violence, but it's not about the tools used. It's about the underlying causes. It's about the people using them and the reasons behind their actions, which are often complex and multifaceted. We need to stop being manipulated by fear-mongering headlines that distort the reality of the situation. We need to look beyond the sensationalized stories and examine the facts with a critical eye. The truth is that most gun deaths are not the result of random acts of violence. They are suicides, a tragic and often overlooked aspect of the issue. And the remaining homicides are largely concentrated in specific areas, fueled by gang violence and rooted in deeper societal issues such as poverty and lack of opportunity. Blaming the gun for violence is like blaming the car for a drunk driving accident. It's a misdirection. It's a lazy and dishonest argument that ignores the real problems at hand, diverting attention from effective solutions. We can't legislate away evil, but we can empower law-abiding citizens to protect themselves and their loved ones. We can address the root causes of violence and offer real solutions instead of empty gestures and political posturing. It's time to stop the charade and confront the real issues head-on. It's time to stop blaming the tool and start addressing the true causes of violence in our society, working together to create a safer and more just world for everyone. The numbers don't lie. When we talk about gun deaths in America, we're often led to believe it's a homicide epidemic. But the truth is far more complex and far more tragic. The majority of gun deaths in this country are suicides. In fact, suicides make up a significantly larger portion of gun deaths than homicides. This is a heartbreaking statistic, and it reveals a deeper crisis in our nation. We are failing to address the despair, the hopelessness, and the mental health challenges that lead so many Americans to take their own lives. Yet instead of focusing on this silent epidemic, we're bombarded with calls for gun control. This is not to diminish the tragedy of homicide, but it's crucial to understand the full picture. Focusing solely on homicides, while ignoring the larger issue of suicide, prevents us from tackling the root causes of violence and despair. We need to shift our national conversation. We need to address the mental health crisis, the lack of support systems, and the economic anxieties that contribute to suicide. Only then can we truly start to save lives. Let's talk about where these homicides are happening. It's crucial to understand the context and the environment in which these tragic events unfold. The truth is, gun violence in America is not an equal opportunity tragedy. It disproportionately affects certain areas and communities. It's heavily concentrated in specific areas, primarily inner cities plagued by gang violence. These neighborhoods are often marked by visible signs of gang activity. These are communities ravaged by poverty, unemployment, and a lack of opportunity. The economic despair is palpable and the social fabric is frayed. In these environments, gangs thrive. They become a dominant social structure, filling the void left by the absence of stable institutions. They offer a sense of belonging, of purpose, and often a way to make money in a system that feels rigged against them. For many young people, joining a gang seems like the only viable option. The violence that follows is a symptom of these deeper societal ills. It's a manifestation of the underlying issues that have been ignored for too long. It's not about the availability of guns. While guns are the tools used, the root causes lie much deeper. It's about the lack of hope, the lack of opportunity, and the cycle of violence that traps generation after generation. The systemic issues perpetuate a sense of hopelessness. Blaming guns for the violence in these communities is not only misguided, it's insulting. It oversimplifies a complex issue and shifts focus away from the real problems. It's a way to avoid having uncomfortable conversations about systemic racism, economic inequality, and the failures of social programs. These are the conversations we need to have if we want real change. It's easier to blame the tool than to fix the broken system, but easy solutions rarely lead to meaningful change. We need to stop treating the symptoms and start addressing the disease. The focus should be on comprehensive solutions that tackle the root causes. We need to invest in these communities, provide opportunities, and break the cycle of poverty and violence that has held them captive for far too long. Only then can we hope to see a reduction in violence and a brighter future for these neighborhoods. Section 4, Poverty, Despair, and Hopelessness, the Roots of Violence. Let's be clear, poverty is not an excuse for violence, but it is a contributing factor. When people feel trapped, hopeless, and forgotten, they are more likely to turn to desperate measures. This is true in any society throughout history. America's inner cities are no different. The lack of economic opportunity, the failing schools, the breakdown of the family unit, these are the breeding grounds for despair and violence. Young people growing up in these environments often see no other path but the one laid out before them by gangs and criminals. They lack the resources, the support systems, and the hope to believe in a better future. This is not a gun problem, it's a societal problem, and it's one that we can't solve by simply restricting access to firearms. We need to invest in these communities, provide job training, improve education, and offer real pathways out of poverty. Only by addressing the root causes of despair and hopelessness can we hope to break the cycle of violence that plagues these communities. Section 5. The right to self-defense, an inalienable right for all Americans. The Second Amendment is not about hunting, it's about freedom. It's about the fundamental right of every American to live without fear. It's about the right of the individual to protect themselves, their families, and their property from those who would do them harm. This right extends beyond the confines of one's home, encompassing every aspect of daily life. This right is fundamental to a free society, and it should not be infringed upon. It is a cornerstone of our republic, ensuring that every citizen can stand up against threats, both foreign and domestic. Law-abiding citizens have a right to defend themselves against criminals. This right empowers communities to take proactive measures in safeguarding their neighborhoods. They have a right to protect their loved ones when the police are minutes away and seconds count. In those critical moments, the ability to defend oneself can mean the difference between life and death. Taking away that right leaves them vulnerable and at the mercy of those who operate outside the law. It strips away the sense of security that every individual deserves. The Second Amendment is not a suggestion. It's the law of the land. It is a binding principle that has been upheld through generations, and it exists for a reason. It was crafted with the foresight of protecting future generations from oppression and ensuring their liberty. It's there to ensure that the government can never disarm the populace and become tyrannical. This balance of power is crucial in maintaining a free and just society. It's a safeguard against tyranny, and it's just as relevant today as it was when it was written. The lessons of history remind us of the importance of vigilance and preparedness. We cannot allow the actions of a few criminals to dictate the rights of the many. The misdeeds of a minority should not overshadow the freedoms of the majority. We cannot allow fear to erode our freedoms. Fear should not be the driving force behind policy changes that undermine our constitutional rights. The right to self-defense is paramount, and it must be protected. It is a right that empowers individuals, strengthens communities, and upholds the very essence of what it means to be free.